Have you ever watched a video that made your skin crawl? A blurry elevator camera. A young woman steps inside. She presses all the buttons. She hides in the corner, peeks out, steps in, steps out, moves her hands in strange, unsettling gestures, as if speaking to someone or something you can't see. This footage became an internet obsession. Her name was Elisa Lam. In 2013, she vanished while staying at the notorious Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. 19 days later, they found her body, floating inside a sealed water tank on the hotel's rooftop. No signs of struggle, no clear explanation, just questions. Tonight, we're diving deep into one of the most haunting mysteries of the internet age. Who or what was Elisa Lam running from? We'll explore the timeline, the evidence, the theories, and the unanswered questions that still linger a decade later. Before we begin, ask yourself, how well do we really know the stories that go viral? And sometimes, what stays hidden between the frames? To understand the mystery of Elisa Lam, we need to start with the place where it happened. The Cecil Hotel wasn't just another cheap place to stay in downtown Los Angeles. It had a dark reputation. Since it opened in 1924, the Cecil had been home to suicides, murders, overdoses. It had housed serial killers like Richard Ramirez the Night Stalker and Jack Unterweger. It was infamous for its history of tragedy and violence. By 2013, the hotel had been partially rebranded as Stay on Main, trying to attract tourists, but underneath the new name, the old shadows still lingered. That's where Elisa Lam checked in. Elisa was a 21-year-old student from Vancouver, Canada. She was traveling alone across California, documenting her trip on social media. Her post showed a curious, adventurous young woman, but also hints of struggle. She'd been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. She arrived in LA on January 26, 2013, and checked into a shared room at the Cecil. But soon, her roommates complained about her odd behavior. Hotel staff moved her to a private room. In the days that followed, Elisa visited bookstores, coffee shops, tourist sites. She called home every day until January 31st. That was the last day anyone heard from her. Her family, alarmed when she didn't call, contacted LAPD. Police searched the hotel, her room, hallways, lobby, but there was no sign of Elisa. That's when they checked the surveillance cameras. What they found was that elevator video. It showed Elisa stepping inside, pressing multiple buttons, looking nervously outside. She peeked out, jumped back in, peeked again, stepped out. Her hands made strange gestures in the air, like she was talking to someone invisible, but no one else appeared on camera. That video was released to the public, and almost overnight, it went viral. People watched it over and over, analyzing every movement. Some saw fear, some saw playfulness, others saw something supernatural. Who or what was Elisa Lam interacting with in that elevator? And how did she end up in that water tank? Questions were piling up, and so were the theories. 19 days after Elisa Lam disappeared, guests at the Cecil Hotel began to complain. The water in their sinks tasted strange. The shower pressure was weak. Some described the water as black, foul-smelling. Maintenance was sent to check the rooftop water tanks. That's where they found her. Elisa's body was floating inside one of the sealed tanks naked, clothes submerged nearby. The questions multiplied. How did she get there? The rooftop was locked. With alarmed doors, access was restricted to staff. The water tanks were large, heavy, with tightly sealed lids. Climbing up required ladders, keys, knowledge of the hotel layout. And yet, Elisa was found inside. No drugs or alcohol were detected in her system. No signs of physical trauma. The official ruling, accidental drowning. But many couldn't accept that. How did she reach the roof without triggering alarms? How did she climb into the tank, lift the heavy lid, and close it from inside? Why were her clothes found inside the tank, but not on her body? Theories spread online. Some believed she was chased perhaps by someone she met in the hotel. Others suggested she was experiencing a psychotic episode, driven by her bipolar disorder. And then, there were darker explanations. People pointed to the Cecil's history. Was it possible something supernatural had drawn her in? A video surfaced of Elisa visiting a bookstore hours before she vanished. The store owner described her as friendly, excited to buy books for her family. Nothing seemed off, but internet sleuths found connections where others saw coincidence. Some noted the eerie similarities between Elisa's case and a 2005 horror film called Dark Water, about a girl who drowns in a water tank on the roof of a haunted building. Others tied her name to conspiracy theories, secret codes, even biological warfare experiments. The case had gone from tragedy to viral mystery, and the truth was drowning in noise. Meanwhile, Elisa's family mourned privately. They didn't believe the hotel was responsible, but they still searched for answers. Because even with an official explanation, so much didn't make sense. And for every question answered, 3 more took its place. As theories multiplied, so did the debates. Was Elisa Lam's death the result of foul play, mental illness, or something more unexplainable? The police stood by their conclusion: accidental drowning. They believed Elisa, struggling with bipolar disorder, had climbed to the roof herself. Perhaps in a manic episode, she sought solitude or escape. Maybe she entered the water tank willingly, unaware of the danger. But critics pointed out the unanswered questions. If she went alone, how did she bypass the alarmed doors? Why weren't her fingerprints found on the lid? Could she have closed the heavy lid from inside the tank? And then there was the elevator video. Internet investigators dissected every frame. Some argued Elisa was hiding from an unseen pursuer. Others believed she was hallucinating. A few noticed the elevator door never closed, sparking speculation of tampering, or a glitch, or something paranormal. The Cecil's dark history fueled the mystery. A hotel once home to serial killers, a place linked to suicides, murders, disappearances. Some claimed it was cursed. Others spoke of spirits lingering in its halls. The line between fact and folklore blurred. Journalists, YouTubers, podcasters, everyone had a theory. But in the noise, the real Elisa risked being forgotten. She wasn't just the girl in the elevator. She was a daughter, a sister, a young woman navigating mental health challenges while seeking adventure. In the end, the case revealed more than a mystery. It exposed how easily a tragedy becomes spectacle, how a person becomes a meme, how the internet's obsession with answers sometimes drowns out empathy. And yet, the questions remain. Why that hotel? Why that night? Why did no one see? In the search for closure, we're left with fragments, and the haunting image of Elisa Lam, frozen in a moment forever looped online. It's easy to get lost in the theories, to analyze the elevator footage frame by frame, to draw connections between headlines, history, and horror stories. But beyond the mystery, there was a real person. A young woman, traveling alone, dreaming, writing, exploring. A daughter who called home every day. A sister who loved books, art, discovery. Elisa Lam's story reminds us how fragile the line is between curiosity and obsession, between empathy and entertainment. In trying to solve her case, the internet turned her life and her death into a puzzle, a spectacle, a meme. But at the center of it all was a human being, someone who deserved safety, someone who deserved peace, someone whose life was more than the last 4 minutes captured on a blurry camera. Tonight, I invite you to think beyond the theories. What does Elisa Lam's story tell us about mental health, about how we treat strangers' tragedies, about the stories we tell and the ones we never get to hear? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you, consider sharing it, subscribing, and joining me as we continue exploring the mysteries, the truths, and the questions that still have no answers. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and stay safe.